All right, gang, thank you so much. I'm so excited for you to be here with us and sharing your expertise. This is the first time we've done this, right? Let's wing it and see how we get on. I'm going to ask a question, the same question of you all to begin, which is, who are you? What does your business do? And what stage of growth would you say you're in right now? And I'm just going to go by the order in my screen because my brain won't compute otherwise. Lillie, you joined me first. Let's start with you. Who are you? What does your business do? And what stage of growth are you at?
Hi everyone, I'm Lillie Jamieson. I'm the co-founder and director of Send It to Alex, which is an employment support service, and we provide one-to-one support for neurominority individuals. So that's people who have ADHD, autism, dyslexia. I came to be in this area because I was late diagnosed autistic myself. We provide one-to-one support similar to a virtual assistant, but trained specifically in providing support to people who think and behave differently. We also provide training to organizations to help them better understand the differences and how we can create more inclusive practice to make sure that we can all access our skill sets and that we aren't facing day-to-day barriers.
Awesome. And what stage are you at, would you say, Lillie? You've been on the most incredible journey. I watch in awe. But where are you at right now?
You're watching all and underneath I'm like, so I'm at two stages. One is that I've just started and founded a digital startup, which is App Ally, which I won't talk about today, but we've got that as a startup. So it's beginning the journey in a different industry for a different audience. And then with Send It to Alex, we have seen a shift in where funding is coming from, who's paying, who's not paying. We are scaling, but we are focusing on new markets. So we're basically trying to enter into new markets, which is just as hard as starting up.
I'm sure Gareth's going to relate hard to what you've just said. Sarah, can I make sure everyone else is on mute? Thank you. Who are you? What do you do?
Hi guys, so my name's Gareth Tucker. I'm the owner of Elite Sports and the Bounce Park. We started with Elite Sports. It's been going for a number of years now. We supply primary schools with PE lessons and after school clubs. We also offer holiday camps around Oxfordshire and Berkshire. So that's been going for probably about 15 years. We've seen lots of ups and downs in that, which I'm sure we'll dig into later. And then over the COVID period, just afterwards, we founded an inflatable hire company called Elite Bounce, which then progressed on to the Bounce Park. The Bounce Park is an indoor inflatable theme park. We're primarily based in Didcot, but we are looking to grow. We've recently updated our sites to being in Reading and Paynton, which is Torquay area, which is great. So we're looking to really grow on both businesses. We're still finding our feet and looking for growth. It's an exciting journey ahead.
Hi. I'm really glad.
We're just chatting like this.
Only five of us, it's fine. So me and my husband have a business called Elite for Safety, and we do tailored health and safety training to businesses. And you can see all the medals in the background. They're not mine, they're Harold's. He was in the military for 26 years. So we've taken the stuff he learned in that environment with the training and how they do things and transferred it to health and safety training in the industry to try and improve the quality of it. So we started just before the pandemic and we do face-to-face training only. That was an interesting couple of years. Now we're about 5.5 years in and we've got a really good solid business. We've built a really good reputation and we're just at that stage now where we're trying to scale. We're taking on employees, trying to increase clients and turnover, but we've got the really strong foundation. So I feel like we're at a good place now, but it's now the next hurdle to get a bit bigger and better.
Fabulous. Thank you so much. And then Simon, last but not least.
Hi everyone. My name's Simon Crisp. I am the founder of 4 companies: Green Machine Computers, Aldbourne Beer Club, Shelbourne Beer Club, and Terragod Technologies. Green Machine is the company I've been running for 15 years. It's an IT recycling company which is multi-award winning and is my day job, what I do Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. The pubs are a midlife crisis, which I'm still working on, but they're great fun. We took on the second pub today, so that's quite exciting news. I'm an IT guy by day and a pub landlord by night.
When do you sleep?
When the pub's closed.
Because most of us run one business and don't sleep anyway.
Yeah, between midnight and 6 a.m. That's my sweet spot.
All right, guys, thank you for introducing yourself so clearly. The first question, I'm going to ask it to you all. I'd love to know the biggest barrier that you guys have faced in your business that held you back over the last 15 years in your case, Si, or 5 years in your case, Lillie, Amy. What was the biggest barrier that held you back and how did you overcome it?
The biggest barrier for me has been people, and that includes myself. Having the right people in the right positions. I had a post-it on my screen for the whole of last year, and I just kept repeating the same question. Is the right person doing the right job? And if not, do something about it. Me included. There are certain things that I will spend ridiculous amounts of time on because I'm protective of it. For example, we were just talking about credit control. I think that I need to do that because I know the relationships, I know the history of what's gone on with that account, and I can lose a day to a couple of accounts of chasing payments that is not efficient use of my time. There has been, you overcome one barrier in yourself and you think, okay, I've opened this up, and then you find that you're doing it with something else and then with something else. So it's been an absolute journey of really understanding what that came down to. How I've overcome that is better understanding what kind of gets me riled, what sends me into fight or flight mode, because most of us, the things that we do really well, panic about and worry about as business owners is fight or flight mode. It's got some kind of trauma attached to it or a difference in the way that we think. So I have done several things and I've done them incrementally over time, right? I didn't just decide, oh yeah, okay, I'm going to make all of these improvements. It's like you overcome one barrier and then move on to another. That's included, I got a personal trainer to get me into the habit of actually working out. I cannot tell you the difference that made to my anxiety levels. Just showing up for myself 1 hour, 2 times a week has completely changed my mental health. That one thing alone. But being able to actually get started, because forever, it was 20 years before I'd last worked out when I turned up that first day. I just couldn't convince myself to do it. So I needed somebody else. I needed that introduction of somebody new and to pay for it in order for me to turn up. And it didn't have to stay that way, but that's how I got started. Now, I don't want to take too much of the space because I can talk forever about all of the different things that I have, but that's a key one that changed things for me, prioritizing my mental health. And that went on to include therapy, which I live for now. I have to have therapy because I have barriers we work through. Having that regular session means that, which is just once a month, but I'm able to reflect on the last month. Where have I held the tension? Where am I stressing out? And why am I stressing out? And then relieving myself, talking that through, because we hold a lot and it can debilitate and disable our potential, our business, and the people around us.
Awesome. Thank you. What I got from that was that accountability has been very important to you in making sure that you're turning up for yourself and you're making sure that the people that you're surrounding yourself are doing the right things. Amazing. Gareth, what about you?
I'm quite in agreement with Lillie. Biggest barrier for me was myself and not understanding my strengths and weaknesses. It's only been in the recent few years that I've got to grips with what I'm good at and what I'm terrible at. It's been an eye-opener for me, to be honest with you. I'm not a great manager on a day-to-day basis. For a number of years, I've tried to manage a number of staff, chasing them up, making sure things are doing, and it just drives me insane. It's not my strength whatsoever. COVID hit and we got someone else to run the business and it was game changing for me. But this is for my growth. So I could really focus on growing the business, setting up a second business and letting somebody else who was so much better than me run the business on a day-to-day basis, understanding my strengths and my weaknesses, setting up the day-to-day structure around that really. So that's been my biggest barrier, is just not understanding myself beforehand. Once you do that, it's game changing.
Great. Perfect. Amy, does that resonate?
Yeah, I can absolutely echo everything that both Lillie and Gaz have said. I'm like sat here nodding away like a nodding dog. That's definitely, I think that's probably a universal experience across anyone who's starting a business, because you're learning so much as you go. Like you're learning about everything, and yourself is obviously included in that. My answer is going to be a little bit different. For the business, For us, the pandemic was the biggest barrier because it held us back so much in what we can actually do and deliver. We were very set on face-to-face training. This is what we want to do. This is what we're preaching. This is what works. And there were so many restrictions around what we could do. It gave us time to develop what we were doing, but there was so much temptation to be like, maybe if we just did a little bit of online stuff, but we held really firm. We're like, no, it's not what we're doing. It's not what our brand is. We had to hold out for it and wait until we'll get better. But we really believed in what we were doing. That resilience to be like, if it is going to take off, it is going to take off. We just need to keep trying, knowing your values and sticking to them and having a strong product or service and genuinely believing in it, because it's not always as quick as you want to. So the biggest barrier, we probably would be quite a way ahead if we didn't have those 2 years where we had the reins pulled, where we couldn't do what we wanted to do there. But it was also a learning experience. We will learn a lot in that time as well.
In my mind's eye, I don't know if you've ever seen the picture of two people on 2 tunnels, and one of them is walking back from the tunnel's edge with his pick, and the other one is going crazy a meter past where the other one gave up, and there's a pile of diamonds everywhere. And I remember so vividly spending time with you and Harold when you were literally at that point where you were so close to diamonds, and it was hard, right? It would have been easy to have given up. If there was a company that embodies that image, it's your company, Amy.
Thank you.
What about you?
I think, having been working for people for 15 years, deciding at the age of 34 that I was going to be an entrepreneur and I didn't want to work for a big company anymore, that was a barrier. And then convincing my wife that I'm not going to work for Microsoft, even though there's a job offer in my hand, and I'm going to do something different. Trying to convince big companies that they want to work with a company that's all about corporate social responsibility. Before CSR was even a buzzword, we've been doing it for 15 years. It's not all about cost, CSR and social enterprise. For me, big businesses working with that kind of company was barriers to start with. And when we got the mindset, it just worked.
Amazing. Amazing. I'm going to go the other way around. Simon, I'm going to start with you. I would like a brief overview of how you think about this question. So my team has been a barrier to growth or pivotal in my success. Discuss.
Both.
Interesting.
For
Squarely
me,
on the fence.
I can tell you, so I manage 35 people across my businesses, and some of them are awesome, some of them are brilliant. I would say that there are times when you can have employees who fly and do brilliant things and become owners and directors in your businesses. 2 of my staff are now joint owners of my businesses. One of them started as apprentices 5 years ago, Natalie. She's now the MD of Green Machine. I saw something in her and went, boom. She does the absolute opposite of me, and everything I can't do, she can do. That's why we work brilliantly together. I've had staff steal from my business. Over the years, I've found employees stealing thousands of pounds worth of equipment. Trust is a massive thing. There are so many different things in our lives where things are bad. But on the plus side, my longest employee, Josh, who's been with me 10 years for Green Machine, he's neurodiverse. He's super. He's an absolute intelligent beast of a man who can do a Rubik's Cube check quicker than any person on the planet and processes more equipment at a faster level than anyone. Finding the strengths and weaknesses in your team is what you need to do quick. And Lillie said earlier, I'm not sure if it was on this in around a one-to-one, getting the right people to do the right jobs is really important.
Yeah. Amy, what can you add?
Yeah, I completely agree. It's getting the right people in the right roles. When you've got the right people doing the right roles, and that also applies to me and Harold as co-founders of the business, but even things like the production company, the people that we use to do the productions, the accountants, there's so many moving parts to a business to make it successful. I couldn't do it all on my own. Harold couldn't do it on his own. If it was just us two, obviously you have to learn. I can do pretty much everything in the business because we've built those processes. But if you're going to grow, you need to have the team to do that. Not everybody has that goal. Sometimes people are like, I do this job and I just want to do it all the work myself. Then that's absolutely fine. Maybe you would find it more of a barrier. But if you want to scale and grow, then you do have to rely on other people. It's hard finding the right people.
Amen. Gareth, what about you?
from both sides of it. On the positive side, if you've got the right team in place, you thrive. It takes the stress off you. It takes all the hard work off you. And then it's just leading that right team to continue to grow. On the opposite side, if you have the wrong team or the wrong people within the business, it's hard work. It's daunting. I've had a couple of managers in both businesses where it was just the wrong person for that business. And one of my weaknesses was I left it go. I was talking to Peter for a long time about a couple of my managers, but I let it go and continue. And you can see the negative effect it has within the business if you don't have those right people. And I kid you not, as soon as those wrong people come out of the business, the very next day, it was a massive weight off my shoulders. Not just me, the whole team. You could see it ripple through the business. So making sure you have those right people is so key. It makes everything a lot easier. And if you've got the wrong ones, lesson for you is just to get rid of them as quick as possible. It doesn't mean that they're the wrong people. It might be the wrong people for your business. They will go to another business and really thrive. You've got to find the right culture and find those right people in the right holes and you'll be fine.
Love that. Thank you, Gareth. Lillie, what about you?
I've been on the receiving end of both, hence having a post-it note saying right people, right job for a whole year. When you have the wrong person in your team, you can drown your whole team. And it can have a really significant impact on morale, on client relationships. It can impact, it has a ricocheted effect. Being a really small team, like when you're less than 10 people, one person, it's toxic. It can really create toxic environments. And I don't mean like them having bad behavior. It's not deliberate. It's just not the right fit, whether it's the role or personality fit. But business is all about the people. Even if you're creating an AI or a tech-enabled business, the people who run that and deliver that, it's really, you need to have the right people doing the right jobs. And that is the making of, I think, all business.
Great answer. Was there ever a point where any of you seriously considered giving up?
Many times, every day. No, there is.
Every day? No.
Not every day. Not there's good days, there's bad days. There's days where I'll spend 2-3 hours walking the dog, just thinking things over. Those days where it does get tough and you go, I've had enough. Getting out of that environment and processing it is the best thing you'll ever do. Walking the dog down by the river is the best thing for me. You just take yourself out and think bigger picture, and then all that stress of what's going on day to day, but it's an easy fix at the end of the day. You just got to figure out what the right solution is. For the whole of my life, there'll be days where I'll think I've had enough, and there'll be days where I think I'm on top of the world. It's just the joys of running a business, really.
Yeah,
I agree.
Call it a roller coaster for no reason.
Yeah.
I think pandemic for me, I imagine Amy's the same. Pandemic for us, we fell between all the cracks in regards to what we do. When we went into lockdown, we were like, what are we supposed to do? We weren't in any of the retail areas or anything to get any funding or any support, and that was horrible. I just said to the team, you're not going on furlough. We're going to build up all our stock and give it away for free. And we did. Gave all of our laptops away to schools and stuff. And one day we were literally thinking about, should we just close the business? And then the next day we're on BBC South Today for donating 600-700 laptops to kids. So it became a make or break situation that worked. But it was a very scary time for a lot of people and for us.
There's that resilience thing, right? There's that point where you go, I could just give up, or I could try something else. And you tried something else and it blew up. And here we are 5 years later.
Yeah, we did that a lot in that first couple of years. I don't think I've ever seriously considered stopping what we're doing. There's two reasons for that. The first one, this is it, we're doing this, there's no plan B. Obviously there's always a plan B, but I was so determined. He was closer to giving up on it than I was at times. I said to him, if you don't want to do it, then that's fine, but I'm doing it. So if I need to find somebody to do what you can do, then I will. Knowing full well that would be near impossible because he's brilliant at what he does, but I called his bluff and it worked. But yeah, because we'd come from quite a toxic workplace and we just come out of being employed by somebody who wasn't the best, and I was like, I don't want to be employed by someone else. I don't want to have to work for someone else. I don't want to have to deal with all that crap again. So this has to work. When things weren't quite going right or we had to review things, it was like, okay, what is working? What isn't working? Where can we improve, or what do we need to focus on now? So we've done a lot of refocusing. And even now, we're always reviewing what we're doing to make sure it's working and if we need to change our directions or our focus. But yeah, I've never felt close to actually saying, yeah, this is it, I've had enough, because I didn't feel like I had an option.
Awesome. For those of you listening in, I've got a bunch of questions. They've seen them. They've probably rehearsed them if they're smart. But I reckon it would be much more fun for you guys to throw some questions at them yourself. So whack some in the chat and Sarah will pick some out and then invite you to ask the question. Maybe the final question from me. If you guys were to start again tomorrow, what would you do differently? Okay.
The thing that I'm going in a very different mindset. I've got a lot of learnings to take from the last 5 years and a lot of what we've discussed, but that's encapsulated with I don't need to know everything. I don't need to know exactly how and when and why all of the turning parts of the industry that I'm trying to crack, how it all operates. I will learn as I go, and that was just debilitating. First time round, I spent so much of my time waiting until I knew enough, until I had the right information, until I had the right person. But actually getting going and taking steps forward, regardless of that fear, has done us the world of good. I'm taking that with me into the new business.
Awesome. Anyone else?
I would. Oh, sorry, Simon.
I was going to say, remind me of the question you want.
So if
I
you were going
would.
to start again tomorrow, what would you do differently?
I would hire someone to manage very quickly. Just take off that day-to-day stress of running the business. My whole focus would be on growing it. If it was a startup, it could be detrimental to the cash flow straight away, but it's the quickest way to grow. If it's not successful after 3 months and it doesn't work, then you start again and go again. But by far, if I would have had a manager in place when I first started both businesses, we'd be a lot further along than we are now. It'll allow me to really focus on growing the business, getting the customers in, and then growing again. So that's the first thing I would do, I think.
May, is there any questions in the chat?
There are, yes.
Fabulous. Why don't you
I
take it?
Yeah, there's quite a few coming through now. Thank you, guys.
Awesome.
There's some good ones here.
Let's pick a good one and throw it at them. We'll
Okay.
put them on the spot.
That's great. I was going to say, and this is a real curveball one for you based on that question, is I wouldn't have made Green Machine a limited company. I would have made it a charity. I think the success is more important than the profit. We could have got much more support and effort along the way. It's important for me. It would have been a much bigger and more successful company if it was a charity than it is as a limited company.
Interesting. I wish I could ask Lillie to come back on that, but we're not going to have time. Sarah May, whose question are we going to ask?
I really like Michelle's one. What did you do to overcome the lowest point in your business?
Oh, I like that question.
It's not nice when you get to that lowest point. COVID was one of the lowest points we had. It took a lot of time, reflection, and thought process to get back on the horse and go again. The quicker you do it, the better it is. You learn as you go. It's going to happen time and time again. You just got to hop back on and go again. Time is the healer for it.
As a healer,
I
they say.
I think for me, it was lowest point was when we just lost a huge contract. One of my business partners at the time fell seriously ill and the whole business was in a complete free-for-all. This is just after the pandemic. What the hell am I doing? Why am I doing it? I just sat down at home and I thought I could go and work for somebody else. I don't know what to do. I wrote an article and I just wrote down, why do we do what we do? Turned it into a blog post, chucked it on LinkedIn, got a load of good feedback about it, and that just gave me enough to thought what we are doing is important, not just to us, to others as well. I was like, now I know why we do what we do.
Amy?
I think it's, for me, in those moments, it's a mentality thing. And I have to remind myself, why are we doing this? What do we want from it? And what's the end goal? What's the alternative? I'm very much a problem solver. And I'm like, it's this or this. What are we going to do? And if it's the option between we're going to struggle on a little bit or we're going to go get jobs and work for someone else, and I know what option I'm going to go for, and then it's how do we get there. Just having that mentality and reminding yourself why you're doing what you're doing and why it's important to you. It might be that you need to change how you get there, but where are you trying to get? What are you trying to build, and how big does it need to be as well? Because we at first were like, yeah, we want a massive business, we want this, we want that, and as we've gone, we're like, do you know what, we don't need a huge multi-million-pound turnover. That would be nice if that happens, but actually we're getting from our life what we wanted from the business initially. And I think you get that creeping excellence where you keep going more and more. And if you sometimes take a pause, you're like, do you know what? Actually, we're doing better than we ever thought we could. So why are we feeling like it's not working when actually we've achieved so much already?
So important to look back over your shoulder. We don't celebrate the wins enough
No.
universally as business owners. Lillie, anything to add?
Yeah, my lowest point, I was losing my hair. I'd gained an autoimmune disease and I had pink eye most of the time. I just got a constant inflammation in one of my eyes, where I was working so incredibly hard and not holding myself accountable. Also, I had started a business with no clear vision, and my ambition was to just get business for the sake of business as a virtual assisting organization. At my lowest point, I'm like, why am I doing this? What do I want from it? It's not business for the sake of business. That's not the life I want. So that was a pivotal point for us. We refocused the business to be purpose driven, to be meaningful, to give me reason to actually hold myself accountable, because without me, the business is going to fail. So I need to sustain my health to be able to sustain and grow a business and have that impact I want to have.
Amazing. Thank you, guys. I think we've got about 8 minutes left. Sarah, what's the next
I'll
question?
tell you what, you guys are epic at questions. We need to get you to write them from now on. Question from Emma. Have any of you had investors buy into your business, or have you raised funds?
Amy, no. Lillie?
We're fundraising now for the first time in the new business. We've started from scratch. We're fundraising now, and this is where a barrier comes in. I've been learning about it for the last 2 years. So we're early on that journey. We're currently pitching, but no commitment.
I've had investors in it, has 3 other shareholders, and so does the pub company, also has another shareholder. Those who can see your vision and help growth.
We've grown organically all the way through, so we've never had any investors.
Do you know what I love about this? That the majority of you have done it the hard way. Like, it's hard. Si's done it the smart way. He's raised funds to help him grow, but the rest of you have just done it the way that most people do it, which is just grit and determination and hard work. Which, Sarah May, what's the next question?
One from Kathy. How do you make sure your employees follow the right company ethos, especially when you cannot be with them most of the time?
Get the right people.
I had quite a bad experience with getting somebody in and they weren't right for the role. We all work remotely, so it's quite hard to manage that. The mistake that I made was trusting them too quickly with everything and letting them do what they said they could do. And I was just believing what they were saying. I was like, yeah, they can do it. They said they can do it. So I had the processes in place and they weren't being followed. The thing I would say is have the processes in place and make sure that they're being followed and have markers for that and regular check-ins that things are going the way they need to be going.
Good stuff. Anyone else?
Getting people who buy into your business, the mindsets and ethos, and get what you do. For me, I can remember in our toughest times, one of my oldest staff who'd been in another business doing his own thing, and times are tough. And I thought, crikey, I said to all this team, I said, we're not going to make anyone redundant. I said, we could do. I said, that would be the advice we'd be given, but everyone's just going to have to lose 2 days a week until we get through this. And everyone was like, thank you for being honest. We all got through it. We all took it as a team. And I think that has taken me through being honest, hardworking, trust your team and they'll trust you back. And I think that's what works for me.
No.
Your point makes me think of my friend Mike Jennings, who's in the audience, I know, who wrote a book called Valuable. And he talks about how important it is to have the right values from the outset that your team can follow as the guiding star, the North Star. If you end up in Mike's breakout room, you are lucky. Gaz, what about you?
Getting the recruitment right, that's key. And obviously, again, right person whole, but also the training. If you train them well enough, they'll take things on board. And then the ones who aren't taken on board, they're not right for you. Yeah. Having a tougher recruitment process has helped us along the way. Obviously, you're going to get people who go through that, and as soon as they start, it will completely change. To really ingrain what you're trying to achieve with your business is training them. They'll appreciate you putting the time and effort into them. Sometimes they're going to look the board, but so it's making the training interesting. But that's how you know they're carrying out what you want them to do.
Yeah. I'm going to go rogue. I'm going to take the question away from Sarah. I want to ask.
You going rogue, that's not normal.
That never happens. To what extent does working on the business help you to overcome those barriers? Like we've heard Gareth talk about going for 3-hour dog walks to clear his head and get clear on the strategy. If we follow Michael Gerber's analogy of work harder on the business than you do in the business, or don't work in the business, work on it even better. To what extent does that resonate with you guys? I know it will for Amy, in fact, because Harold quotes me that book all the time. So let's start with you.
I think that's something I've struggled with, and it's difficult. We did bootstrap. We've had to earn and pay for people. When you employ people, there's a cost involved in that. Because of our mentality around the pandemic, we're like, anything could happen at any time. We need to have those reserves. We were quite reluctant to outsource, to be honest. And it didn't get until the point where we're like, we really need to, until we actually did. I do think that held us back a little bit, but we needed to do that to feel comfortable. Because yes, you need the right people, you need the team, but you also need to be able to afford them. And to have good people, you need to pay a decent wage. So we definitely have taken a little while to get there with that.
All right, good. Now, working on the business, how important has it been to overcoming barriers to growth?
It's been game changing for me. When I was working in the business, we didn't scale at all. As soon as I stepped away and worked on the business, let someone else be in the business running for me, yeah, we expanded so much more quicker. It allows you to think of different things and get the right resolutions to the questions you're asking, basically. And there's always going to be questions in your business and difficulties, and it's having that time to think and work on it. It's game changing.
I think the mastermind group helps. The mastermind group for me I've been in the mastermind since he started it. And for me, the first group that I was in for a long time, the journey that we went through together has helped. And that enabled me to take 2 of my employees who are now owners. Now we have our mini mastermind on top of my normal mastermind. When I do my work on the business, I'm not sitting in the room talking to myself and thinking I'm mental. There's a few of us actually talking together and working on the business as a plan, which works for me.
We've got 1 minute, but Simon, I'm going to kiss you after this. Lily, what about you? Wrap us up. Working on the business.
I think there's a catch-22 with this, right? Because as you're growing and you're getting those first clients and sustaining them, and really identifying what it is that you're doing, and also doing your own marketing and your credit control and all the rest of it, all the hats that you need to wear, it's a really kind of fine line. But when you get, I think you've got to understand where your break point is, where you can then say, okay, I'm earning X amount of money, I'm doing X, Y, and Z. I need to be able to take more time away to actually focusing on the business. But for me, in the first 2 years of our business, we grew 50% the first year. And that's because we only earned £20,000 in the first year through the pandemic. The second year, we grew 50% in the second year. In the third year, when I came out of employment and was focusing purely on the business, we grew 3x. The following year, we grew 3x again, and then we doubled it again. It was an absolute game changer. And the amount of time that I was spending on believing that I was like the savior of the business, and I was so important that I was that client relationship, was a lot of wasted time and a hair loss. Like, it was not necessary.
And that's no laughing matter. But to be clear, my assumption, and I don't know this for a fact, I've never asked you this question and I wish I had, but I'm going to assume that you didn't ever do the VA services that you were providing. Am I right in saying that? Or were you a VA?
Well, I was an executive assistant in a private equity firm.
There you go. But not in the business that you started up, Send It to Alex. You never did the kind of work like working.
No, I did. I was our first.
Were you?
Yeah, I was.
Fair play. How quickly did you? We need to have beers because I want to figure out how long it was before you managed to get yourself out of working in the business so you could just work on the strategy and the growth and the sales.
So just going back to that first business and that question about what would you do different in the first in your next business if you'd start again?
Yeah.
That I wouldn't work in the business.
What a bombshell to leave it on, Lily. What a bombshell. And with that, I just want to say thank you so much for your time, guys. We are out of time. Laura, Elaine, can you disassemble the spotlight so we can bring everyone back. I'm sure everyone will join me momentarily in giving our panelists a big round of applause. Thank you so much, guys.